Puppy picks new best friend at the shelter. Her choice will surprise you. This enchanting story begins with a young couple who decided it was time to welcome an addition to their home. The couple dreamed of their nuptials and patter of tiny feet around the house, but before these dreams would come to life, they wanted someone that would share in their love and happy moments, so they set out for the local animal shelter. At the shelter, they were inundated with love from adorable little pets, great and small, but it was a little Damascan puppy named Raven that stole their hearts. They knew right away she was the one. Back home, the sprightly pup kept her human parents on their toes. Playtime was great, but the couple knew she needed more, a body of her own. So with Raven in tow, they went back to the shelter. This time, they allowed Raven to pick out her own sibling, and the amorous pup made a most peculiar choice. But first, a little background on Mom and Dad. Back in 2015, Christina and Vincent were engaged lovebirds in Texas with plans of raising a family of their own someday. The couple, who are now married, had some details about their future family planned out already. For instance, they wanted children who'd grow up together. They understood that raising little ones is a huge responsibility, and it was best for them to iron things out before starting the journey. But one thing that lingered in their minds was the ideal time to add a new member to the family. For couples who plan on becoming parents, having the talk is essential. This intimate conversation sheds light on what the new bundle of joy would mean for the couple emotionally, financially, and career-wise. Who'd need to stay at home? How would the housework be handled? These are some of the questions that have to be answered before taking the huge step of raising kids. In addition, they also have to be on the same page on how many children they want to cope with, as raising kids can be a strain on finances if not well planned out. So Christina and Vincent discussed these things and arrived at a reasonable conclusion. Without a doubt, parenting is one of the hardest jobs in the world. Having a baby would usher in unfathomable love and thrill, but also anxiety, sleepless nights, and frayed nerves for the couple. Essentially, raising kids is a full-time job and one that many people can't juggle with their demanding careers. For Christina and Vincent, who are medical professionals, they arrived at the conclusion that it was best to wait a tad longer before having their own bundles of joy. Meanwhile, they'd get something they've always dreamed of, a fur baby. Many couples choose to have pets instead of children of their own, while others prefer having pets before having children. Whichever the case, the love shared between pets and humans is simply magical. People can be so attached to their pets that the line between human and animal fades away. The pets are seen as real children, often called fur babies or fur kids, and are bona fide members of the family. With all the love our furry companions give, they deserve it all. Christina and Vincent decided to start their family with a cute little furball, so they began looking for a pet to adopt in their local animal shelters. Their search ended in a shelter in Lubbock, Texas in May of 2015. They were shown some puppies to choose from, but it was Raven who captured their hearts. As soon as they locked eyes with the Damascan Husky, they knew she had to come home with them. The adoption papers were signed and Raven was welcomed into the family, but soon she began exhibiting a worrisome behavior. Raven quickly adapted to life in her new home. She had a clean, comfortable bed, toys, and was showered with affection. Although she chewed on her toys once in a while, she was always forgiven. It was hard to get mad at her cute little face with the bold brown eyes and big pointy ears. But the more Christina and Vincent played with the Husky, the more they noticed something striking about her, and something that caused them to make a decision that would change their lives forever. Raven was fiery when it came to playtime, which was often. She loved to play with her owners, run around in the yard, and explore her surroundings. She was as frisky as she was cute. But being the only pet, it got harder for the couple to keep up with a zippy little girl, so they settled on a permanent solution. They thought Raven needed an extra playmate, especially one who would keep her company whenever they're away. Christina knew exactly what to do. In fact, she had it worked out almost all her life. The next month after Raven's arrival, the trio headed back to the shelter where they had adopted her from. Seeing her old home again, Raven probably thought she was being taken back for good by her human parents, but that was far from the case. It was to be another major life decision for the family, and Raven had been chosen to make it. She was going to choose the family's latest member, her own little feline playmate. "I'd always wanted a dog and a cat to grow up together. It's been like a life goal," Christina said. What a lucky little pup Raven was. The shelter workers introduced Raven to 4 little kittens who had been abandoned, but it was the very last one that won her love. It was an adorable 8-week-old tabby cat. The two hit it off right away. The adoption papers were signed again immediately, and Woodhouse the kitten was officially removed from the shelter and happily welcomed into their loving home. Since returning from the shelter, Raven and her little brother Woodhouse have been inseparable. Woodhouse couldn't be any more perfect for Raven. She's head over heels for him and lavishes him with affection. Christina explained, "I wanted them to be able to get along well. I wanted her to actually meet the cat and have the cat get along with the dog as well." Cats and dogs may be famous for their rivalry, but these two furballs are changing the narrative. Woodhouse has been on the sunny side of life since he got adopted, too. He's received a happy home, two loving human parents, and a best friend/older sister who cares for him like a second mom. The unlikely pair played with each other so much on their first day together that they got dehydrated. They had no trouble drinking water out of the same bowl afterwards, as shown in the picture Christina posted online. She later revealed the pair shared even more. She said proudly, "At one point Raven grabbed one of her peanut butter rawhides and held it for Woodhouse to lick. What a gal." The bond between Raven and Woodhouse is out of this world. As they grow out of their puppy fat, they just couldn't get enough of each other. Raven would freely share her toys with Woodhouse, they'd cuddle together in the morning, hang out in the park together during the day, and cuddle again before falling asleep at night. As in the picture above, it's hard to tell where Raven's love for Woodhouse ends and where Woodhouse's love for her in return begins. It's all one big fluffy ball of sweetness. Despite being several sizes bigger, Raven doesn't mind being bossed around by Woodhouse. They're perfect with each other. They don't cuddle as much as they used to when they were a puppy and a kitten, but they're still always together, always playing together, Christina told the Dodo. Woodhouse actually chases the dog around the house and they like to play tag, she added. Isn't Raven just the sweetest pooch? The duo also enjoy going on long car trips with their mom and dad, and with the wind in their faces, fascinating views to feast on, and each other for company, it's obviously one of their favorite things to do. Of all the places they visited, though, one remains the cream of the crop. It has plenty of room to jump around and play with lots of cool breeze and sand. Can you guess where? Raven and Woodhouse normally don't like water, but the beach is one exception. Perhaps it's each other's presence that's made it easier for them to handle being splashed by cold, salty seawater. Perhaps it's the vastness of the sea that's alluring, as they have more space to play. It could also be the soothing sea sand beneath their paws. Whatever's the case, these two buds can't get enough of beach life. What are we doing if we're not doing it with our best friends? Raven and Woodhouse are always game for spreading love and joy during the holidays and pose for the camera for their fans while they're at it too. Check out their patriotic and snazzy 4th of July costumes. Mom does a great job of dressing up her fur babies for the holidays too. Be it Easter, Christmas, or Halloween, you can count on these two to be the most dashing duo on the block. Raven and Woodhouse do everything together, including celebrating birthdays. Born just a few weeks apart, Christina and Vincent decided they celebrate the birthdays at the same time each year. For their birthday, they get colorful decorations, cool hats, and delectable treats. Christina made them a sumptuous peanut butter and hot dog cake one year, and they posed for the camera for cool photos to mark the day. Despite their obvious differences in character, one thing's for sure, Raven and Woodhouse make the perfect pair. And with such caring and loving parents as Christina and Vincent, the future looks bright for this big happy family, which is about to get bigger. With a baby girl on the way, we're resting assured that she's in good hands with her two furry siblings. They'll be delighted to cuddle up with her and shower her with affection. The dynamic duo's special friendship teaches us that no matter how different from each other we look like on the outside, our hearts remain the same. Raven and Woodhouse are the last pair many would think can get along, but they've looked past instincts and let love lead them to a beautiful friendship. Between both of them, there's tons of love to give to everyone who opens up their hearts to receive. Vincent and Christina, as well as their future kids, will never lack good laughs and affection with these two around. Looking back, it does seem Raven and Woodhouse were destined to be adopted by Christina and Vincent, more so that they'd allowed Raven to pick out Woodhouse. If the two hadn't met and connected emotionally, things would have turned out very differently. They likely wouldn't be the close buddies we know and admire today. It's been an awesome 4 years since this magical adventure began, and with this adorable family set to welcome a new human member, it's safe to say the best times are yet to come. There are more awesome stories of unlikely animal friendships like Raven and Woodhouse's from around the world, such as this awe-inspiring one from Berlin. In 2000, a house cat wandered into the Berlin Zoo and encountered a massive bear. The circumstances that led to their incredible friendship drew visitors, as well as scientists from far and wide. The Berlin Zoo garnered worldwide attention in 2000 when a fascinating event occurred within its walls. The laws of nature were defied when a mysterious house cat wandered into the zoo one morning. Of all the places in the zoo, the little feline chose to visit the bear enclosure. At first, there was nothing to worry about as the cat was simply perched on one of the tree's branches, watching the goings-on below, and clearly out of reach of the 800-pound bear whose home it had intruded. Things took an interesting turn when the cat suddenly dropped down from the tree and had a standoff with the bear as the crowd watched with bated breath. Many species of animals are exhibited at the Berlin Zoo, from gorillas to giant pandas, pulling millions of visitors from around the world. One of the favorites was a gigantic Asiatic bear named Märchen. Known for their size and strength and appetite for small animals, one could almost guess that it wouldn't end well for the small feline that had strolled into Märchen's enclosure that morning. She could easily be mauled to death. No one knows where the little kitty, though, later named Mushi, came from, but she showed no signs of fright at the presence of the bear. She'd been spotted up in the tree one morning by the zoo's employees as he made his rounds. The zookeeper was surprised to see her and wondered how she got into the enclosure, but as long as Mushi was in the tree, she was safe, so no one worried yet. Then Maoshin noticed the stranger in her home. She wanted to find out what it was. As she made her way to the tree to confront the intruder, Mushi made a daring move of her own. She leapt from her hideout and down to the ground. Now Bear and Cat were staring at each other face to face. The zoo's employees and visitors watched the unfolding scene in amazement. Was the furry feline about to become a snack? Well, not today. Bystanders were left stunned when the two animals struck up a friendship instead. Black Bear and Black Cat made an instant connection, and from that extraordinary day, Mushi and Maoshin, meaning Pussycat and Little Mouse, respectively in German, were inseparable. They shared food, hung out, sunbathed together, and won the hearts of everyone. Apart from visitors, scientists would also visit the pair to study their incredible cross-species friendship. Hence, it broke everyone's heart when they had to be separated. In 2007, Maoshin's enclosure had to be closed so that necessary improvements could be made. Unfortunately, this meant the black bear had to be separated from her beloved friend and shipped off to a cage in another part of the zoo. The close pals didn't handle the development very well. Zookeepers thought Mushi would leave, but instead she searched the zoo endlessly for her little mouse. The separation broke the hearts of Mushi and Maoshin and put the zoo's employees in a very uncomfortable position. Having been together for 7 years and sharing such an amazing bond, they couldn't bear being apart from one another. Mushi never gave up searching for Maoshin. She would meow for her friend and Maoshin would roar in return until they found each other. Then she remained sitting outside Maoshin's cage pining for her friend. The cries of woe continued to echo throughout the zoo until the renovations were completed in 2008. Then the two friends were finally reunited. Heiner Klose, a member of the zoo's management board, said they greeted each other and had a cuddle and now they're happy. Well, so was everyone else. Their story had spread far and wide and people flocked to the zoo to see the lovable chums reunited. The love story between the dissimilar animals raised some interesting questions. One of them is the origin of Mushi, a regular black domestic cat. Well, no one knows. She appeared from nowhere in 2000 and we decided to leave them together because they got on so well, Mr. Klose said. Mushi turned from an unknown house cat into a world-renowned sensation thanks to her inquisitiveness. More importantly, she became a companion to an elderly bear who, as it turns out, really needed the company. Even more mysterious than Mushi's origin is the logic behind the odd couple's camaraderie. Normally, a cat would steer clear of massive flesh-eating predators such as bears, but this kitty decided to go closer instead, and astonishingly, the bear responded amicably. Some have called it fate, some think it's the matching coats, while others theorize that Maoshin's motherly instinct was responsible, making her regard Mushi as her cub. Whatever the case, it does show nature does bend its laws sometimes, and the results can be amazing. Sadly, Maoshin and Mushi's amazing, long-standing friendship came to an end when Maoshin died. She was 43, and although they're not together anymore, the legacy of their adorable friendship lives on. They prove that love has no boundaries and speaks from the heart. Whether it's between a common collected Moggy and a frisky pooch, or two totally different people, no one is impossible to love.